The gym smelled like sweat and old leather. The punching bags swung slightly, even when no one touched them, as if they remembered all the fists they had taken. The afternoon sun poured in through the broken glass window, lighting the dust and the air like floating stars. Inside, the sound of gloves hitting pads echoed like a rhythm only fighters understood. That's when the door creaked open. Everyone looked toward it, annoyed. They weren't expecting anyone, especially not a small, skinny boy in slippers with a school bag hanging loose from one shoulder. His clothes were too thin for the cold. His hands looked too soft to hold gloves. And his eyes looked like they had already seen too much. "I want to fight," the boy said. Some of the older boys laughed. One of them, tall and muscled with a shaved head, leaned on the ring and said, "You want to fight? You lost already, little boy." The coach, a big man with a tired face and whistle around his neck, squinted at the boy. "What's your name?" "Imran," the boy replied. "I don't have money, but I can clean the floors. I can do anything. I just want to learn." The coach didn't answer immediately. He looked at Imran's slippers. One was torn near the toes. Then he glanced at the rest of the gym. Everyone was watching. The coach sighed. "Fine. You can mop the floor today. If you still want to fight after that, we'll see." Imran didn't argue. He dropped his bag, grabbed the mop, and began working. While others trained, he scrubbed every corner. He didn't look up when they laughed at him. He didn't react when someone kicked the bucket over. He just cleaned it up and kept going. That night, the coach sat on his stool and called Imran over. "So, still want to fight?" "Yes, sir." "You ever boxed before?" "No, sir." "Then this will be funny," the coach said. "Get in the ring." The other boys gathered around. Some took out their phones. One of them said, "Wait till Razi sees this. He's gonna love it." "Hey Kareem," the coach called. "Help our new janitor experience boxing." Kareem, the tall guy with the shaved head, jumped into the ring. He was grinning. "Don't worry, coach. I'll be gentle." Imran climbed through the ropes slowly. His hands trembled. The coach tossed him some old gloves. "Put these on. Let's see how long you last." The bell rang. Kareem didn't hit right away. He circled the boy like a lion watching a rabbit. The crowd was laughing again. Imran stood still, watching Kareem's feet more than his fists. The first punch came fast. Kareem hit Imran on the shoulder, not hard, but hard enough to spin him. Halfway, Imran stumbled. Someone yelled, "Stay down, kid. Save your teeth." But Imran stood again. The second punch caught him in the ribs. He bent forward but didn't fall. Blood trickled from his lip, but he raised his fists. "What is this?" Kareem asked. "You trying to act tough now?" The coach leaned forward, watching more closely. The third punch came, but this time Imran moved, just a little. Not enough to dodge fully, but enough to make Kareem miss the center of his face. Imran didn't hit back. He just kept standing. A fourth, fifth, and sixth punch, each one heavier than before. But Imran didn't quit. A quiet spread in the room. The laughter faded. Everyone was waiting for the boy to fall, but he didn't. His knees buckled, his eyes swam, and his breath came in short gasps. But he didn't fall. Kareem stepped back, confused. "What's wrong with him?" The coach stood. "That's enough." Kareem looked at him, "But he didn't even hit me." "I said enough," the coach snapped. Imran sat down in the corner of the ring, panting. The gloves slipped from his hands. One eye was almost swollen shut, but there was a small smile on his face. The kind that only comes when pain and pride mix together. After the others left, the coach walked over. He looked at the boy, who sat, now on the bench, sipping water with shaking hands. "Why didn't you fall?" the coach asked. Imran looked up. "Because no one was going to help me back up." The coach stared at him for a moment, then walked away without a word. That night, Imran sat on the gym steps, long after everyone had gone. The cold crept into his bones. His ribs ached. His lip throbbed, but he didn't cry. He opened his school bag, and took out a notebook. Inside, he had drawn a ring. In the center, he had written one word: fight. A shadow fell over the page. He looked up. The janitor stood there, quiet old man with a limp and faded eyes. He handed Imran a piece of cloth. "Put it on the swelling," he said. Imran nodded. "Thank you. You have heart," the janitor said. "But heart isn't enough." Imran looked at him. "Will you teach me?" The man didn't answer. He turned and walked away, keys jingling softly. The next day, Imran showed up again. The coach didn't look surprised. He tossed a towel at him. "Mop the sweat first, then wrap your hands." Imran did as he was told. Every day after that, he worked cleaning, mopping, lifting weights, copying others. No one trained him, no one cared, but he watched, he studied, he learned. Late at night when the gym was empty, he stayed back, alone, hitting the bag with sore hands, repeating every move he had seen. That's when the janitor came again, quietly, watching, then correcting. A tilt of the foot, a drop of the shoulder, a whisper, "Don't blink when you punch." Days turned to weeks. Imran's body changed, not bigger but harder, not heavier but faster. His bruises became badges. His eyes learned to focus. One evening, the coach called for sparring matches. Imran's name was called. He stepped up. This time, no one laughed. He faced a boy twice his size. The bell rang. Imran moved light on his feet, slipping punches, waiting. One jab. "Clean the room," gasped. A hook, a dodge, a counter. The coach leaned forward. Where did he learn that? Razi whispered. Who's training him? But Imran said nothing. After the match, he returned to his bench. He touched his gloves to his lips. In the corner, the janitor nodded once before disappearing into the shadows. That night, Imran passed by the gym window. Inside, he saw the coach talking to someone on the phone. Yeah, he's different, the coach was saying. The boy doesn't break. He bends, but he doesn't break. Then, after a pause, I don't know where he got that footwork from. Maybe he's copying videos. Maybe someone's helping him. Imran walked away with a quiet smile. Outside, the air was cool. The stars had come out. He looked up at them and whispered, "One day, you'll all know my name." But that name was still far away. For now, he had to clean the floor. Again, just as he grabbed the mop, a loud voice behind him said, "Tomorrow, you fight again, and this time, don't lose." Imran turned. The coach was watching, and this time he wasn't laughing, but someone else was. In the shadows of the hallway, a figure stepped out. A man in a black jacket with a gold chain around his neck. He clapped slowly. "Interesting," he said. "Very interesting." Imran frowned. "Who are you?" The man smiled. "Just someone who enjoys watching people break. Let's see how long you last, little warrior." He walked away into the darkness. Imran stood still, the mop in his hand forgotten. A chill ran through him. Tomorrow's fight was going to be different. The morning came slowly for Imran. Every part of his body ached. His back felt stiff, his arms heavy, and his ribs still sore from the last match. But there was no time to rest. He got up before the sun, washed his face with cold water from the hand pump and tied his old school shoes tightly. The left one was missing laces, so he tied it with a string. His mother was still asleep on the thin mattress, wrapped in a blanket full of holes. The roof of their small room leaked sometimes when it rained, and the walls were cracked like old skin. But Imran didn't look at the broken parts anymore. He only looked at the light coming in from the broken window, the same light he had seen in the gym that first day. He didn't eat breakfast. There was only one roti left, and he left it for his mother. Quietly, he picked up his bag and gloves, and walked to the gym. The streets were empty, dogs barked in the distance. Dust rose with every step he took. By the time he reached the gym, the sun had just begun to rise. He pushed the door open. Inside, the janitor was already sweeping. The old man looked at him and said nothing, but his eyes said everything. Imran began to stretch. His body screamed with pain, but his heart stayed quiet, focused, calm. The coach arrived half an hour later. He was not in a good mood. He threw his bag on the bench and said, "Get ready. You're fighting again. And this time, in front of people who matter." Imran didn't ask questions. He wrapped his hands in cloth slowly and carefully. Each wrap felt like a prayer. One of the older boys came to him. "You're lucky, janitor boy. Coach usually ignores people like you, but now you're the main show." Imran ignored him. He knew what was coming. This wasn't about him anymore. It was about someone trying to humiliate him. Again, the man in the black jacket had returned. He was standing near the entrance, talking to the coach. They both kept glancing at Imran. The man smiled when their eyes met. Imran felt something cold in his chest. Something dangerous. "He doesn't look like much," the man said loudly, "but it'll be fun watching him cry." The coach said nothing. He just nodded. Imran saw Kareem come forward. "Was he fighting?" Kareem asked. The coach looked around and said, "Rauf." A silence fell in the gym. Rauf was not just big. He was mean. He had broken someone's nose in his last fight. He didn't smile. He didn't joke. He just punched hard. Imran's legs felt weak for a moment, but he pushed the fear down. He looked over at Rauf. The boy was wrapping his gloves silently, staring at Imran like he was already dead. "You don't have to do this," the janitor whispered from the corner. Imran turned toward him. "Yes, I do. If I run now, I'll keep running forever." The bell rang. Everyone circled the ring. The man in the black jacket leaned on the ropes. "Don't blink," he whispered. Imran stepped into the ring. The light above swung slightly, casting shadows across the floor. Rauf was already inside, bouncing on his feet. The referee shouted, "Touch gloves." Imran stepped forward. Rauf didn't raise his gloves. Instead, he whispered, "I'm going to break you." Then he stepped back. The bell rang. Rauf rushed in like a storm. The first punch came fast and hard. Imran ducked. Barely the wind of the glove passed his ear. The second punch hit his shoulder. Pain exploded through his arm, but he didn't fall. He stepped back, watching. The janitor's voice echoed in his mind. "Don't watch the hands, watch the feet." Imran focused on Rauf's legs. One slight movement. That was enough. Rauf lifted his back foot too high. Imran slipped to the side and threw a quick jab. It landed. Soft, but real. The crowd gasped. Rauf growled and came again. Left-right hook, uppercut. Imran blocked some, dodged others, but a few landed. His head snapped back, his knees bent, but he stayed up. The first round ended. Imran stumbled to his corner. His lip was bleeding. His eye was swelling again, but he was breathing. He was still there. The coach didn't speak to him. He just watched with narrowed eyes. "What's keeping this boy up?" the man in the black jacket asked. "Fear?" The coach shook his head. "No, something else." Round 2. Rauf came again. He was angry now, too angry. Imran used that. He dodged more, jabbed more, even smiled once. The crowd started to change. They stopped laughing. They leaned in closer. One of the older boys whispered, "He's not supposed to last this long." Rauf punched harder. One hit caught Imran in the ribs. He fell. The crowd gasped. Imran hit the mat. His breath vanished. His ears rang. The referee started counting. 1, 2, 3. Imran opened his eyes. The ceiling lights blurred. 4, 5. He rolled to his side. 6, 7. He grabbed the ropes. 8. He pulled himself up. 9. He stood. Barely the bell rang. Saved for now. In the corner, he leaned forward, gasping. The janitor walked close and whispered, "Now, use the spin." Imran nodded. He remembered the trick move, a fake to the left. Step inside, spin, uppercut. Final round. Rauf looked tired, angry, embarrassed. He rushed again. Imran moved left, then right, then ducked. Then, in one moment, everything became slow. He stepped in, spun, his glove came up, fast, hard, pure. It landed under Rauf's chin. The sound echoed. Rauf stumbled back. He didn't fall, but his knees bent. The crowd screamed. The bell rang. The match was over. Silence, then chaos. "Who is this kid?" someone shouted. "Did you see that punch?" That was textbook. The man in the black jacket said nothing. He stared at Imran, who stood in the center of the ring, chest rising and falling. The coach walked over. He looked at Imran with strange eyes. "Where did you learn that spin?" Imran didn't answer. The janitor turned away and walked back to his broom. Rauf left the ring, fists clenched, face red with shame. Imran climbed down. His hands were shaking. His body burned. But inside, something had changed. The boy who was pushed into the ring as a joke had stood like a warrior. He went to the corner and sat down. He picked up his bag. He felt something inside. It's something heavy. He opened it. There was a small water bottle, and under it, a folded note. He opened the paper. It read, "The fight begins only when you stop being afraid. Usted J." Imran smiled. He looked toward the janitor, who was wiping the floor near the entrance. Their eyes met. The janitor gave him the smallest nod. That night, as Imran walked home, the streetlights flickered. His steps were slow. His arms hung heavy, but his heart was light. He had fought back, and he had survived. At home, his mother waited at the door. "You're bleeding again," she said quietly. Imran smiled through the blood. "I didn't lose." She didn't answer. She just hugged him. For the first time in months, in the distance, a car stopped. The man in the black jacket sat inside. He rolled down the window and said to the coach beside him, "This boy, he's not normal. Find out everything about him, where he lives, who's teaching him. I want him crushed." The coach didn't respond. He just looked out the window, remembering the punch Imran had thrown, the same punch he had seen years ago, from someone else, someone who vanished after being banned, someone they had called the ghost fighter. The car drove off. Inside the house, Imran opened his notebook. He drew a new picture, a ring, a boy, and this time he added a crowd cheering. He wrote, "Not a joke, a fighter." And then he closed the notebook, whispered a prayer, and fell asleep to dreams filled with echoes of cheers and the sound of gloves hitting the air. The sun was still sleeping when Imran stood outside the gym again. His body was tired, his bones sore, but his eyes were alive. He had faced Rauf, the meanest fighter in the gym, and didn't just survive. He landed the punch that shook the entire ring. But today felt different. The gym door was half open, and a strange silence floated in the air, the kind that comes before something important. When Imran stepped inside, the janitor was mopping the floor like always. Only, today, he didn't look at Imran, not even once. Imran dropped his bag, walked to him, and said quietly, "Was that move yours?" "The spin." The janitor kept cleaning. "It's not mine anymore," he said. "Belongs to the one who uses it right." "You knew I was going to use it?" Imran asked. "I knew you'd either fall with fear or rise with courage. You rose? That's enough." Imran nodded. He looked around. The usual boys weren't here yet. The gym felt like it was holding its breath. The coach came in soon after, holding a folder in his hand. He walked straight to Imran. "You have two choices," he said. "Keep training here like a nobody, or step up. There's a local junior tournament next week, open category. I'm putting your name in." Imran's heart skipped. "Me? You're ready?" the coach said. "Or you better be, because you won't just be fighting strangers. You'll be fighting people who hate losing in front of crowds." Imran smiled. "I'm ready." The coach raised an eyebrow. Sure." Imran looked at his bruised knuckles and the thin scar now forming near his left eye. "They thought I was a joke. I'm not anymore." The coach handed him the folder. Inside was a form, a photo slot, and rules. The tournament was in 5 days. In a sports complex across town, 4 matches to reach the final, 1 loss, and you're out. The noise returned to the gym by noon. The boys arrived, loud and sweaty. Rauf didn't speak to anyone. He trained hard, hitting the punching bag like it had hurt him personally. Kareem was quieter too. Only a few dared whisper about Imran now. He wasn't the janitor boy anymore. He was the one who stood up, the one who didn't fall. That afternoon Imran trained harder than ever. He jumped rope until his legs burned. He threw punches until his arms went numb. He sparred with anyone who would face him, and at night, when everyone left, he stayed back. The janitor returned. Silently, he adjusted Imran's stance, tightened his footwork, fixed his breathing. Don't fight the opponent, he said. Fight his rhythm. Break it. Own the moment. Imran soaked every word, every step, every silence. Why did you stop fighting? Imran asked one night. The janitor was standing beside the heavy bag, eyes far away. I didn't stop, he said slowly. They stopped me. Why? Because I didn't fight for money, or for pride. I fought for truth, and truth doesn't sell tickets. Imran didn't understand all of it, but he understood enough. The janitor wasn't just a cleaner. He was someone they feared once, someone forgotten by time. And yet, here he was, passing his legend to a boy with nothing but hearts. 2 days before the tournament, something strange happened. A man came to the gym, clean suit, shiny shoes, cold eyes. He spoke to the coach for a long time in the office. No one knew who he was. When he left, he looked directly at Imran. So this is the boy, he said. The coach didn't answer. Interesting. Tell him to be careful, the man said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Some dreams break bones. Imran didn't flinch. He stared back. Then I'll learn to bleed. The man chuckled and walked out. The coach turned to Imran. That was from the boxing federation. He wants to see how far you go. Why? Because he's the one who banned your janitor, the coach said. Imran's fists clenched. He still controls who fights and who fades. That night, Imran sat outside the gym alone. The moonlight fell softly on the street. The janitor joined him quietly. They sat in silence for a while. I saw the man today, Imran finally said. He looked at me like I was dirt. That's how they look at everyone who rises from nothing, the janitor replied. But if you look back with fire, they blink first. What if I lose? Imran whispered. The janitor looked at him, his voice softer than ever. Then you lose with dignity. But I don't think you will. Why not? Because your pain is louder than their pride. The next day, Imran packed his gloves, water bottle, towel, and a small photo of his father, one of the only ones they had. His mother saw it and asked, Are you going somewhere? To a war, Imran replied gently. She didn't stop him. She just said, Win or lose. Come back, Hole. The day of the tournament arrived. The sports complex was huge. The ring was surrounded by banners, lights, and loud music. Boys from other gyms stood around, some with shiny new gear, some with full teams behind them. Imran stood alone, except for the janitor, who had followed quietly and now leaned against a pillar, dressed in the same old faded clothes. The announcer called names, one by one. Fighters climbed the ring, some fell, some rose. Then they called, from Gulshan Boxing Gym, Imran Khan. The crowd turned. A boy in stitched-up shoes, with no team, no brand. Imran stepped into the ring. His opponent was taller, broader, and wore gear with sponsors on it. The bell rang, the match began. Imran moved like a shadow. Every punch had purpose. Every dodge had silence. He didn't show off, he didn't smile, he just fought. 1 round, 2 final. He won. Clean. Judges nodded. The crowd clapped, unsure. Some began whispering, Who is he? The janitor didn't smile. He just nodded once. The next day, 2nd round, another win. 3rd day, semifinal. The opponent was the local favorite. Fast, arrogant, loud. But Imran didn't blink. He fought with something more than speed. He fought with memory, with hunger, with hump. Another win. Final day, 1 more match, just one, and that's when it happened. A guard entered the waiting room with a message. Imran's gloves were not approved. What? The coach snapped. Why now? Federation rule, the man said coldly. Change them, or forfeit. Imran didn't have a second pair. He looked around. Nothing. Then the janitor stepped forward and unzipped his old bag. Inside were gloves, old, cracked, but real. He handed them to Imran. These were once banned too, he said. Now they rise again. Through you, Imran put them on. The final began. The crowd was the loudest it had ever been. Cameras flashed, people cheered, and the boy they once laughed at walked into the ring like a legend reborn. His opponent was fast, brutal, technically perfect. But Imran was something else. He wasn't just fighting punches. He was fighting a history that wanted him erased. 1 punch, 2, a fall, a rise, blood, grit, fire. In the final round, Imran faked right, slipped left, hooked under. The opponent fell. The crowd froze. Then erupted, winner by knockout. Imran Khan. The janitor closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his cheek. The man from the Federation stood quietly and left. No smile, no clap, just silence. Imran held the trophy. Not heavy in weight, but heavy in meaning. He didn't smile. He looked at the crowd, at the light, and at the janitor, who gave him a small nod before disappearing again. And that night, as Imran walked home through the quiet streets, he knew this was just the beginning. Because when you fight back like a legend, the world never forgets. The city had never looked so small. From the roof of his building, Imran stood with the golden trophy in one hand and the wind touching his bruised face. Down below, The streetlights flickered, and the neighborhood went on as if nothing had happened. No one outside this small world knew what the boy from the corner room had done. No one knew that he had knocked out the tournament favorite, that he had faced pressure, insults, threats, and still risen. But it wasn't the trophy that made his chest swell. It was the silence. The moment after victory, when the whole crowd had stood up, not because they knew his name, but because they felt something they couldn't explain. It wasn't just his win. It was his will. His mother didn't ask for the trophy. She only asked if he was okay. He nodded. "You didn't cry?" she asked with a teasing smile. He smiled back. "Only inside." That night, sleep didn't come easily. He kept seeing the fight over and over in his head. Not just the punches, but the look on the faces. The shock, the disbelief, the respect. And one more face, the janitor's. His eyes had been wet when Imran turned to him, but the old man had already disappeared. Again, the next day, the gym wasn't the same. Boys who never spoke to Imran now nodded silently. Rauf even held the door open for him once. Kareem asked if he wanted to train together, and the coach gave him new gloves. "You earned these," he said. "They're yours now." But there was something else too. Something different in the air. A strange tension, as if something big was coming. But no one wanted to say it out loud. The man from the Federation hadn't forgotten. Imran had seen it in his cold eyes. And the janitor, he hadn't been seen for 2 days. That evening, the coach gathered the boys and made an announcement. National Junior Trials, Islamabad, in 3 weeks. Best fighters from every region. Top 5 will be chosen for the national team. You fight there, you fight for your country. A few boys cheered. Kareem raised his fist. Rauf cracked his knuckles. But Imran stood still. His heart beat faster. The coach looked directly at him. "You want it?" Imran nodded. "Then train like it," the coach said. "Because this level is different. They don't just punch your body. They aim for your spirit." Training began like war. The gym hours doubled. Sparring got harder. Conditioning became brutal. The coach pushed everyone. No favorites, no exceptions. But Imran, he trained beyond the clock. After the others collapsed on the benches, he stayed. He punched the bag, then punched the air, then sat in silence thinking of his footwork. But still, the janitor didn't return. On the 4th night, Imran waited outside the gym, then walked the alleys, looking behind buildings. Finally, near the old tea shop, he found him sitting on an upturned paint bucket, sipping from a chipped cup. "You stopped coming," Imran said. The janitor looked at him. His face had deep lines, but his eyes still had that quiet power. "You don't need me now." "That's not true," Imran said. "You're my teacher." "No," the janitor said softly. "I was your reminder of what pain can become, but you've gone beyond that now." Imran sat beside him. "They're sending me to the trials." The janitor nodded. "I know. They'll be faster, bigger, trained better, then be smarter, be hungrier." "Will you help me?" Imran asked. The janitor looked at the sky. "I'll help you one last time, but then, you go alone." For the next 10 days, training became sharper, quieter. The janitor didn't correct Imran's punches anymore. He tested his instincts. Threw surprise objects at him, made him run blindfolded through obstacles, made him climb stairs with bricks in each hand. "Why this?" Imran once asked, panting. "Because in the ring," the janitor said, "you won't win with strength, you'll win with memory. With the ability to move before your brain even tells you to." One evening, they trained until midnight. The gym was dark except for one flickering bulb. Imran stood, drenched in sweat, arms trembling. "Last round," the janitor said. "Imagine your opponent has knocked you down. Imagine the crowd is cheering for him. Your coach is silent. Your mother isn't watching. You're alone. Will you rise?" Imran closed his eyes. He pictured it, the noise, the pressure, the blood in his mouth. And then he heard one voice, not from outside, but inside, his own voice, saying, "Not yet." He stood up, threw a punch, then another, then one more. The janitor smiled. "Now," he said. "Now you're ready." The night before departure, Imran went home and packed a small bag. 2 t-shirts, 1 track pant, the new gloves, and the photo of his father. His mother sat beside him quietly. "Did he ever fight at nationals?" Imran asked. She nodded. "He never won gold, but he never stopped fighting." "Was he afraid?" She shook her head. "He was proud. But one day, he didn't return. No medal, no news. Just silence." Imran placed the photo in his bag. "I'll carry him with me." The train to Islamabad was full of hopeful boys. Some from his gym, some from other cities. All dressed in tracksuits, holding gear bags, talking loudly. Imran stayed quiet, watching, listening. A few recognized him. "Aren't you the knockout?" Kid one said, "the janitor's boy," another added. Imran didn't reply. He looked out the window. The buildings passed like memories. When they arrived, the stadium was bigger than anything Imran had imagined. 3 rings, dozens of officials, hundreds of athletes, and banners everywhere. National trials become the future. The coach found their spot. Imran sat on the bench, tying his shoes when a voice spoke from behind, still wearing school shoes. He turned. It was the Federation man. Clean suit. Cold smile. "You got lucky in the last tournament," he said, "but this is real boxing. You'll break here." Imran stood slowly. "Then I'll break with pride." The man chuckled and walked away. First match, Imran's name echoed in the stadium. His opponent wore red gloves, fast and confident. But Imran had trained for this. He moved like water. Punch, step, breathe, punch again. Unanimous decision. Imran won. Second match. Harder, blood from his nose. But he won again. Third match. The boy was older, more experienced. Imran got knocked down once, but he stood. Remembered the janitor's words. You're alone. Will you rise? He rose, and he won. Now, only one match stood between him and the national team. The final. That evening, Imran sat alone near the locker room. The lights flickered above him. He held the photo of his father. If you're watching, I hope I make you proud. He slipped the photo into his bag and stood up. The final match was announced. Imran stepped into the ring. Across from him was a boy named Aryan Khan. Tall, fast, from a military camp. Trained like a machine. Everyone said he would win. The bell rang. First round, Aryan came fast. Punch after punch. Imran dodged most. Got caught twice. Crowd roared. Second round. Imran punched back. Landed a solid hook. Aryan staggered. The cheers changed. Now the crowd was split. Final round. Both boys bleeding. Both tired. Imran remembered the janitor's face. The rooftop, his mother's quiet strength. And his own journey. From the ring where they threw him in like a joke, to this, the last 10 seconds. Aryan rushed. Imran ducked, slipped, stepped in. Uppercut, clean. Aryan fell. The bell rang. Silence. The referee raised Imran's hand. Winner by points, Imran Khan. He didn't jump, he didn't shout. He just looked up and smiled. Later, in the empty hallway, he found the janitor waiting. You said it was? Your last time helping me, Imran said. The janitor nodded. And I meant it. From here, you walk your own road. But remember, when they laugh, let them then fight. Like a legend, Imran hugged him tightly. No words, just respect. That night, the city lights of Islamabad looked like stars had fallen just to watch him. And in one small hotel room, with his gloves beside him and the national badge in his hand, a boy who once mopped floors whispered to the darkness, "Now the world knows my name." The sun hit Imran's eyes like a spotlight as he walked into the gym that morning. He hadn't slept much. His mind kept replaying his mother's words. Your father died in that ring. But that wasn't the whole truth. He didn't even know his father was a boxer. She had hidden so much from him. Still, something inside him felt stronger, sharper, like a wire pulled tight. The coach, standing near the ring, eyed Imran silently. He pointed at a bigger boy who was stretching on the side. Shabazz, one of the gym's loudest, meanest boxers. Get in the ring with him, the coach said without emotion. Now Imran asked, confused. You're here, aren't you? Let's see what all the noise is about. Imran looked up at Shabazz. He had a heavy frame, short hair, and a broken nose that made him look even scarier. The other boys quickly circled the ring. Some cheered, some whispered, but most smirked. Shabazz is gonna knock that stick boy into next week, one of them said. Imran stepped into the ring, his heart pounding against his ribs. He had trained for weeks, but this felt different. This wasn't practice. This wasn't a mistake. This was a test. The bell rang. Shabazz came in fast, wild, like a lion let loose. Imran ducked. His body moved before he could think. A quick jab brushed his cheek. Another punch barely missed. His chin? He moved back, but not too far. Just enough. Wait, watch, breathe. His mind echoed with the janitor's voice, Qasim's voice. Never fight angry. Never chase power. Control is the real punch. Imran waited for the next swing, and when it came, he ducked low and stepped sideways. Shabazz lost balance for a second. Just a second, but that was enough. Imran jabbed, light and quick, to the side of his ribs. Shabazz growled. The crowd gasped. Lucky hit. Someone yelled. Shabazz turned red. He charged, fists flying like hammers. Imran blocked one, slipped under the next. Then he saw Ichabod's left shoulder drop. That was the signal. Imran swung a hook to his jaw, not too hard, just enough to stun. It landed. Shabazz stumbled. The bell rang. End of round 1. Imran walked back to the corner. He wasn't breathing heavily, but everyone else was. What was that? One boy whispered. Did you see that move? I thought he was gonna get flattened. Shabazz looked furious. He refused to sit. His chest rose and fell with rage. The coach said nothing. He just watched. Second round. Shabazz didn't wait. He came in with a roar, swinging wild. Imran's body moved on. Instinct, dodge, duck, jab, block. The crowd noise faded. All Imran heard was his heartbeat and the memory of Qasim saying, "Footwork is your shield." Shabazz swung high. Imran ducked and jabbed his gut. Shabazz gasped. Another hit to the side. Another to the shoulder. His rhythm was breaking. He was strong, but not smart, not careful. Imran was both. Then it happened. Imran stepped in and faked a right. Shabazz raised his arms. Imran twisted left and hit his jaw again. The big boy fell to one knee, not knocked out, but stunned. The gym went silent. No one laughed, no one cheered, just silence. The bell rang again. The coach raised his hand. Enough. Shabazz looked up ashamed, breathing hard. Imran turned around and walked to the ropes. He didn't raise his arms. He didn't smile. He just climbed out of the ring. The crowd slowly stepped back, uncertain what to say, but their silence spoke louder than their words. Later that day, Imran sat alone on the bench near the water cooler. His hands trembled not from fear, but from something bigger, a sense of knowing that he had earned this space. He wasn't a joke anymore. You shouldn't have one, a voice said. Imran turned. It was the coach. But you did. You kept your calm. Used your mind. Imran waited, unsure what to say. Where did you learn that? The coach asked. From someone who used to fight. Someone who lost everything because he chose heart over ego. The coach narrowed his eyes. You're talking about Qasim? Yes. He shouldn't be here, the coach said quietly. He shouldn't be near this sport. Why not? Imran asked. He's the best teacher I've ever had. The coach sighed. He was a genius in the ring, but he broke the code. Imran's eyes hardened. What code? Protecting someone. He stopped a match because his opponent's heart was failing. He carried him to the doctor before the bell. It saved the man's life but disqualified Qasim from the tournament. They called it dishonor. Said he should have finished the fight. That's not dishonor, Imran said. That's being human. The coach didn't respond. He turned and walked away. That evening, Imran went to the gym again. He waited until the place was almost empty. He looked around, but Qasim was gone. Not sweeping, not sitting, not watching. He left, a cleaner said, packed his bag, didn't say goodbye. Imran's chest sank. That night, he went home, and sat at the kitchen table with his mother. She quietly placed food in front of him, chapati, lentils, and a glass of milk. Did you fight again? She asked softly. Imran nodded. Did you win? He didn't answer. She looked at him really looked and said, you have your father's eyes, but your own fire. Why didn't you tell me about him? Because I was afraid you'd follow him. That you'd fall in love with a ring that doesn't love back. But I'm not him, Imran whispered, and I won't fall blindly. I fight because I want to stand. Not just for myself, but for people like Qasim. She nodded, eyes moist. Then fight with honor, no matter what they call it. The next morning, Imran went to the gym early. He stood in the middle, gloves in hand. The coach came in and paused. You here to train? No, Imran said. I'm here to ask for something. What? Let me fight in the next regional tournament. You think one lucky win means you're ready? No. I think I'm ready because I know what it feels like to be laughed at, knocked down, and still stand. The coach stared at him. You're not even registered. Then register me. Or at least give me a chance to prove I belong. The coach turned away. You're not getting in. Imran didn't move. Then I'll fight anyone, anytime. For it? You really think you're strong enough? The coach snapped. No, Imran said. But I'm not afraid anymore. That night the boys at the gym whispered again. Some mocked, some stayed quiet. But one senior boxer walked up to Imran and held out a file. Take my place, he said. Why? Imran asked. Because you earned it more than I did. Imran looked down at the form. His name wasn't on it, but now, it could be. He looked up, and for the first time, smiled. Imran stood outside the janitor's old quarters behind the gym. The wooden door was cracked, the hinges rusty, and the bulb above it flickered like it too had grown tired of being ignored. He raised his hand to knock but froze. The memory of the coach's words echoed in his mind. That man is banned from this sport. He once fought for gold and vanished after a scandal. Imran had trained under him for weeks now. He had learned more from him than anyone else in his life. Footwork, breathing, reading the opponent's shoulder, not just his fists. The janitor whom Imran now knew only as Baba had given him something more than boxing. He had given him belief, but now, everything was different. The coach looked at Baba like a curse, and Baba had left without a word. Imran finally knocked, soft at first, then louder. No answer. He pushed the door gently. It creaked open. The room was small, a single bed with a torn mattress, a wooden trunk at the foot of it, and an old punching bag in the corner. The air smelled like oil and dust and something older than either. Imran stepped in. Baba, he whispered. No reply. Just the sound of a dripping tap somewhere. Then, from behind the door, a quiet voice. You shouldn't be here. Imran turned. Baba stood there, his eyes tired, his hands still dirty from scrubbing floors. His face looked older today, as if the years he had hidden from the world had finally caught up with him in one night. Why didn't you tell me? Imran asked. There's nothing to tell, Baba said, brushing past him. He moved to the trunk, opened it slowly, and stared inside. Imran walked closer. They said you were disqualified, for something terrible. Baba sighed. Not terrible, just ... Inconvenient to people who care more about medals than men? He pulled out a photo. It was black and white, curled at the edges. A young man stood proudly with a medal around his neck and bruises on his face, smiling like the world hadn't yet betrayed him. Imran recognized the smile. That's you, he whispered. Baba nodded. National champion. Then I went to fight. Internationally. Won the first 2 bouts. But in the my opponent collapsed in the 3rd round. I saw the way he fell. Head first, limp. I knew something was wrong. I dropped my gloves and ran to him. He paused, placing the photo back in the trunk like it was made of glass. I was told later, I could have knocked him out, but I didn't. I broke the rules. Left the neutral corner. interfered before the referee, and worse, I carried him to the corner myself, saved his life, but lost my career. Imran stared at him. You saved someone. That's not wrong. Not in the real world, Baba said softly. But in the world of boxing, where winning is worship, they called it unsportsmanlike behavior. My coach disowned me, sponsors vanished, papers wrote stories. My name turned to dust overnight. Imran swallowed hard. Why did you come back here? Because even dust finds a place to settle, Baba said, finally closing the trunk. I became a janitor, kept quiet, cleaned the sweat of boys who'd never know my name. I stayed away from the ring. Until me, Imran said. Baba turned, his face gentle. You had the fire. But more than that, you had the heart. I couldn't let it go to waste. Imran nodded. Then don't walk away now. I need you. You don't, Baba said. You're ready now. No, Imran said firmly. I'm not without you. For a long time, Baba didn't speak. Then he walked to the window and looked outside. They won't like it, the coach, the others. They'll come after me again. I'll stand with you, Imran said. You're a boy, Baba said gently. I'm a fighter, Imran replied. Baba turned to him. There was a flicker in his eyes. Pride, maybe even hope. He nodded slowly. All right, he said. But from now on, no secrets. If we walk into the fire, we walk in together. They shook hands. It was not just a promise. It was a bond of two men from different worlds, one whose story had ended too early, and one whose story was just beginning. The next morning, they were back at the gym. The coach frowned as he saw Baba walk in, but he said nothing. The other boys stared, whispering. Imran ignored them. He trained like a storm. His punches sharper, his mind calmer. Every jab, every dodge had meaning now. Baba trained him in silence, using only gestures and soft corrections. He didn't need to shout. Imran understood that later that week. The announcement came. Regional under-16 boxing tournament. Open entries. The gym would send 2 fighters. The coach made a list, reading names aloud. Rizwan and Naved. Imran stood up. What about me? The coach looked at him. You're not ready? I've won every sparring match in the last 2 weeks. And you've been trained by a man banned from the sport, whispers. Eyes turned to Baba, who remained silent. Imran stepped forward. Test me. Right now. In the ring. If I win, I go. The coach smirked. Against who? Me, Rizwan said, stepping forward. He was taller, heavier, more experienced. The crowd buzzed with excitement. A showdown. The coach agreed that afternoon. The gym packed with students and spectators. Imran climbed into the ring. Baba stood at the corner, quiet, but his eyes burning. The bell rang. Rizwan came fast, confident. Imran dodged, footwork perfect. He didn't waste punches. He let Rizwan tire himself. By round 2, the rhythm had changed. Imran began to hit, light, clean, timed. The crowd stopped laughing. They began to cheer. Final round. Rizwan lunged. Imran landed an uppercut that stunned the entire room. The bell rang. Silence, then claps, then cheers. Even the coach looked surprised. I want to see the replay, he said weakly. But everyone had seen it. Imran had won. The coach handed him a form. You're in. As Imran stepped out of the ring, Baba placed a hand on his shoulder. That was your first real fight, he said. Imran smiled. Felt like a war. You fought like a legend, Baba said quietly. That night, Imran sat outside under the stars. His hands hurt. His face was swollen, but his heart was light. He had earned his place, but far away. In a dark office, a man watched the fight, recording on his phone. He zoomed in on Baba's face at the corner of the ring. He made a call. Sir, he said. You asked me to track him. He's back. He's training again. The voice on the other end was cold. Make sure he disappears this time, before he ruins the sport again. And the call ended. Unaware of the danger creeping in, Imran smiled into the night, believing tomorrow would be even brighter. But the storm was only beginning. The cold morning air hit Imran's face as he stepped out of the house before sunrise. His bag felt heavier today, not because of his books, but because of the growing weight of his dreams. He hadn't told his mother, but he had heard something yesterday at the gym. A regional boxing championship was being announced, and the winners could get scholarships, sponsorships, and national attention. For someone like Imran, who still walked to school without socks and sometimes skipped meals, it was more than just a match. It was a door, a chance to escape. But he also knew Coach Hafiz hadn't mentioned his name during the nomination talk. He stood silently, while others celebrated. They were bigger, older, more trained. Some had been boxing for years. Imran had barely started, but deep inside something was growing in him. A quiet confidence that came not from pride, but from persistence. At school, he stared out the window during class. The teacher's voice was a distant echo. He imagined the ring, the crowd, the sound of gloves hitting gloves, the weight of expectation. At recess, while others played, Imran found a quiet corner behind the school building and shadowboxed silently. He didn't care if anyone laughed. He had trained too hard, for too long, to let fear or shame stop him now. That evening, he returned to the gym, hands wrapped, eyes focused. The coach ignored him again, calling the other boys for drills. Imran started training alone at the side. The floor was dusty, the air thick with sweat, but he moved like he was in a real match. Jab, step back, duck, left hook, right cross, again, again, again. Suddenly the door creaked. The janitor Ustadkin entered quietly. He didn't say anything at first, just watched from the shadows like he always did. But then, without warning, he stepped in and corrected Imran's footing. You're leaning too forward again. If he steps back, you'll fall into his trap. Imran nodded. He was used to these quick lessons, these quiet corrections. Ustad never spoke much, but when he did, it was like gold. Later that night, as the others went home, Imran stayed behind to clean the equipment. It wasn't his job, but he did it anyway. Maybe part of him hoped that showing responsibility would get him noticed. Maybe part of him just didn't want to leave the ring. As he stacked the gloves, he heard voices from the coach's office. Sir, what about Imran? Someone asked. Coach Hafiz's voice responded, low and dismissive. He's not ready. He's too raw. The championship is no place for experiments. Imran stood frozen outside, the gloves in his hands suddenly feeling like stone. He trains hard. The voice insisted. I don't care how hard he trains. Heart doesn't win matches. Experience does. Imran quietly put the gloves back and walked out into the night, his steps slower than usual. The next day he trained even harder. Sweat poured from his forehead, his knuckles burned, his muscles screamed. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. Every punch was a silent answer to every doubt. Every dodge was a whisper to the world. I belong here. A few days later, the list of fighters for the regional championship was announced on the gym wall, names written in bold black ink. Imran's name wasn't there. He stood staring at it, heart sinking. The other boys clapped. Some high-fived each other. Imran forced a smile, nodded, and walked away. But something in his chest cracked. That evening, he sat alone on the steps outside the gym. The street was quiet. A dog barked in the distance. He didn't hear Ustad walk up behind him. You saw the list? Ustad asked softly. Imran didn't answer. You angry? Still silence. You should be. Imran finally looked up, eyes red. What's the point of training so hard if they won't even let me try? Ustad sat down beside him. Sometimes the ones who are ignored the most are the ones who end up surprising the world. You just have to keep showing up, even when no one claps, especially then. The next day, something unexpected happened. One of the selected fighters, Adil, injured his wrist during sparring. The coach was furious. That was my best chance, he shouted. Imran was in the corner, taping his gloves. He looked up, heart racing. The coach called the boys together. We need a replacement fast, but someone who won't embarrass this gym. There was a silence, then a voice spoke. Let Imran go. Everyone turned. It was Faraz, the senior fighter, the one who had been with the gym for 6 years. The coach frowned. He's not on the list. Faraz stepped forward. Then take me off. Put him in my place. Gasps echoed in the gym. What are you saying? The coach snapped. I've had my chance. He deserves his. The coach stared at him, then at Imran. Fine, he muttered. But if he fails, that's on you. Imran stood frozen, his hands trembling. Faraz walked up, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, Don't prove them wrong. Prove yourself right. That night, Imran didn't sleep. He sat with his gloves in his lap, staring at the moonlight coming through the window. His mother walked in quietly. You're nervous, she said gently. He nodded. She sat beside him and placed his father's photo in his hand. Your Abba never won medals, she said, but he never backed down either, and that's what made him great. The next morning, Imran wore his gloves like armor. He entered the gym with a quiet fire in his eyes. Coach Hafiz called him over, handed him an old pair of team shorts. Don't embarrass me, he muttered. Imran didn't reply. He just nodded. As the day of the regional championship approached, the gym changed. Some boys ignored him, others wished him luck, but Imran didn't care anymore. He wasn't there to impress them. He was there to fight. On the day of the weigh-in, Imran stood beside other fighters, bigger, stronger, more confident. But when he stepped on the scale, his heart beat steady. He had nothing to lose. Later that night, Ustad met him one last time behind the gym. You ready? He said simply. I don't feel ready. Imran whispered. You will never feel ready. That's how you know you are. Before leaving, Ustad handed him an old cloth. Inside it was a small badge. Faded, rusted, but still shining with pride. What's this? Imran asked. My father gave it to me before my first fight. I want you to have it now. Imran held it close. Thank you, he said, his voice shaking. The next morning, as the sun rose, Imran stood outside the regional stadium. The crowd was already forming. Reporters, coaches, fighters, from across the city. He took a deep breath, held the badge in his hand, and walked in. The announcer's voice echoed across the arena. Next up, an unexpected contender from Golden Ring Gym. Imran. The crowd didn't cheer. Most didn't know who he was. But Imran stepped into the ring like it was home. Across him stood a boy twice his size, with fancy gloves and a sponsor logo on his shorts. Imran smiled to himself. They threw him into the ring as a joke. Now, he was here to make them remember his name. The tournament hall was packed. The crowd was louder than usual, not because they cared who won or lost, but because someone new was about to fight. Not a trained boxer, not a rich kid from a big academy, just a poor boy from a broken street. With no shoes when he first walked into the gym, Imran stood quietly behind the curtain, his hands shaking not from fear, but from the memory of everything he had survived to reach this moment. The regional championship had begun, and his first opponent was no ordinary fighter. It was Rahil, the older brother of Saad, the boy who used to mock Imran every day. Rahil was taller, heavier, and trained by professionals. But the scariest part wasn't his size, it was his anger. He had watched Imran beat his younger brother, and he hadn't forgotten the humiliation. As Imran tied his gloves, the old janitor turned trainer, Baba Karim, looked at him from a distance. He didn't speak, he didn't smile, but his eyes held calm. Imran remembered his words. Your soul is your real strength. Never let anger take over. That was easy to say, but right now Imran felt something heavy in his chest. It wasn't fear, it was rage. Rage from being laughed at. Rage from hiding bruises. Rage from nights he went hungry. And now, facing Rahil, all that rage came rushing back. The bell rang. Both boys stepped into the ring. The crowd was already divided. Some cheered for Rahil, known for his heavy hits, while others whispered about the underdog who had shocked the gym. Imran didn't notice. All he could hear was his heartbeat. The referee gave the signal. Rahil wasted no time. His first punch landed like thunder on Imran's ribs. The boy staggered. The crowd gasped. Baba Karim didn't move. He had seen this before. Imran didn't fall. He didn't step back. He stood still, waiting. Rahil smirked. Still standing? I'll fix that. Another punch, this time to the jaw. Imran's head snapped sideways, and he stumbled into the ropes. Blood trickled from his lip, but he smiled. A tiny, strange smile. Rahil's smirk disappeared. Imran was baiting him, not with arrogance but with patience. Imran remembered Karim's words, don't rush, let them come to you. Round 1 ended. Imran sat quietly. His coach didn't say much, just handed him water. You know what to do, Karim said. Round 2 began. This time Imran moved light on his feet, not attacking but not escaping either, just watching, studying. Rahil was strong, but predictable. He always came in from the left, always followed a body shot with an uppercut. Imran dodged one, then another, then landed his first hit, a soft one, on Rahil's shoulder. The crowd murmured, some even laughed. But Baba Karim nodded. Just the beginning, he whispered to himself. Rahil got angrier. That was good. Angry fighters forget their plan. Rahil charged again. Imran ducked, slid sideways, hit him on the ribs clean and sharp. The crowd stood. This wasn't luck anymore. This was boxing. Rahil lost his balance and fell to one knee. Got up fast, embarrassed, furious. The bell rang. Round 2 was over. Imran sat back in the corner, breathing hard. His side hurt, his jaw throbbed. But inside him, something was rising. Not rage, something stronger. Control. Baba Karim knelt in front of him. You've got him, but don't let your pride win. Let your mind win. Imran nodded. Yes, Baba. Round 3. The final round. This time, both boys were different. Rahil was faster now, desperate to end it. Imran was sharper, more focused. He didn't try to impress. He didn't show off. He just moved. Calculated. Punch, dodge, step, jab, and then it came the moment Karim had prepared him for. Rahil raised his left, preparing his usual combo. Imran had seen this hundreds of times in training. He stepped in, closer than Rahil expected, and threw a low punch to the side. Then a quick uppercut to the chin. Rahil froze. His legs wobbled, his eyes blinked. The crowd held its breath. Rahil dropped to the floor. Silence. 1 second. 2. The referee bent down and began the count. 2. Rahil tried to sit up. 3. 4. He shook his head, dazed. 5. 6. He got to his knees, but couldn't stand. 7. 8. He clutched the rope. 9. He stayed down. 10. The bell rang. The arena erupted. The crowd exploded, some in shock, some in joy. Imran had done the unthinkable. The referee raised his hand. Winner by knockout, Imran. Imran didn't smile. He didn't raise his fists. He just looked toward Baba Karim, who gave the smallest nod. That was enough. Rahil was helped to his feet. He didn't say a word, just stared at Imran with disbelief. His brother Saad stood outside the ring, unable to meet Imran's eyes. Later, in the locker room, Imran sat alone. His hands were sore, his ribs aching, but his heart was calm. Baba Karim entered, holding a small envelope. For you, he said. Imran opened it. Inside was a letter. Qualified for finals, National Youth Boxing Championship. Travel to Lahore next week. Imran looked up, stunned. I thought this was just the regionals. It was, Karim said, but the scouts saw something they haven't seen in years. Heart, control, soul. Imran's voice shook. I'm really going. Karim nodded. You're not done fighting. Beta, you've just begun. That night, Imran returned home. His mother had seen the live stream. She was waiting at the door. For the first time, she didn't cry. She didn't scold him. She just opened her arms. You didn't fight like a child, she whispered. You fought like your father. Imran closed his eyes, holding back tears. I'm going to Lahore Ami for the finals. She smiled, though her eyes were wet. Then Pak. We have dreams to chase. But as he turned to go to his room, his phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number, it said. You may have beaten a street boy, but in Lahore, you'll face real monsters. Hope you're ready. Imran stared at the screen. The real fight was just beginning. The crowd roared louder than Imran had ever heard. His name echoed from the speaker system again and again. Imran Khan, finalist for the U16 Regional Championship. He couldn't believe it. He stood frozen near the ring while the announcer's voice rolled through the stadium. His coach slapped him on the back and shouted something, but Imran couldn't even hear. His ears were buzzing. His legs were trembling. He had made it to the final. Imran stepped out of the ring slowly, blinking in disbelief as people patted his back. Strangers cheered, and boys from other gyms stared with tight jaws. He was no longer the joke they threw into the ring. He was the boy who kept getting up. He was the boy who earned his spot. He ran outside the stadium after the match, gasping for breath, his gloves still on. His janitor-turned-trainer stood waiting near the parking lot, smiling like a proud father. Imran ran straight into his arms and buried his face in Jamil's shirt. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was louder than the crowd inside. You did it, lad, Jamil whispered, his voice thick with pride. But the war's not over yet. Imran pulled back. Coach still hates you, he said quietly. He won't let you near the ring. I don't need to be near the ring to guide you, Jamil said. I trained champions from the shadows once before. I can do it again. That night, the small video of Imran's fight, filmed by a teenager in the audience, went viral on social media. It showed a skinny, underestimated boy taking punch after punch but refusing to fall. In the final round, it showed him standing tall and delivering the cleanest hook anyone had seen in years. The caption read, "They threw him in as a joke. He stayed as a fighter. Who is this boy?" By morning, the video had crossed 1 million views. A local news channel tracked Imran down and requested an interview. He sat nervously under the hot lights, wearing the same faded tracksuit he had trained in for months. The reporter asked him how he learned to box. Imran looked into the camera and said softly, "I was trained by a legend, who now cleans floors." The reporter blinked. "Come again," Imran repeated. "The janitor at my gym. He's the only one who believed in me." The anchor laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. But when Imran told them Jamil's full name, the studio went silent. The reporter paused. "Are you saying you were trained by Jamil the Hurricane Siddiqui?" Imran nodded. There was a ripple through the city the moment that interview aired. Boxing fans remembered the name Jamil Siddiqui, the undefeated middleweight, who vanished right before a world championship. No one knew what happened to him. Some said he was bribed, others said he was disqualified for cheating, but the real story had faded, buried under years of gossip and silence. Now that name was back, and it was attached to a boy who fought with heart. The next day, 2 men in formal suits arrived at the gym. The coach stared at them nervously. One of them handed him a letter stamped by the National Boxing Board. The man said, "We're reopening Jamil Siddiqui's case." Imran was on the punching bag when the men arrived. He stopped, sweat dripping from his forehead. He watched from the corner. One of the men approached him. "You're Imran?" "Yes, sir. We saw your video, your footwork, your form. It's rare in a boy your age." "Thank you," Imran said shyly. "Did Jamil Siddiqui really train you?" "Yes, sir, every night. He showed me everything, even when no one else would." The man nodded. "He trained you well. The board is considering restoring his title. We'd like you to come speak on his behalf." Imran's heart raced. "He deserves it," he whispered. Later that evening, Jamil was sitting by the canal with his radio, listening to old fight commentary. Imran ran up, out of breath. "They came. The boxing board. They're reopening your case." Jamil blinked. Slowly. "They what?" "They saw my interview. They want to hear your side. Sir, this is your chance." But Jamil didn't smile. Instead, he looked away toward the water. "I don't care about titles anymore," he said. "I care about you, your future. That's all that matters now." Imran shook his head. "But they called you a cheater for 20 years?" Jamil nodded. "I know who I am. That's enough. Let the world think what it wants." Imran was silent. Then he sat beside him and said, "You once fought for your name. Let me fight for yours. Now." Jamil looked at him for a long time and finally nodded. 3 days later, Imran walked into a hearing room in a borrowed white shirt and scuffed shoes. The boxing board sat at a long table, files open, cameras rolling. They asked him simple questions when he met Jamil, what he taught him, how often they trained. But one old board member asked the real question. "Why should we believe you?" Imran stood quietly for a moment. Then he said, "Because everything he taught me was how not to cheat. He never let me take shortcuts, never let me lie. Even when I begged to skip training, he made me repeat every drill 10 times. If he was a cheater, then why would he raise me like a fighter?" The room went quiet. Then Imran added softly, "He told me, power is just muscle, but honor, that's your soul. That's the man you banned." When Imran walked out of the room, his eyes burned with hope. Reporters rushed forward, but he didn't speak. He simply walked home, hoping he had done enough. That night, the board released a public statement. After reviewing the original disqualification case, they found Jamil Siddiqui not guilty of any foul play. The original referee's decision had been influenced by external pressure. His record was restored, his name cleared. The news broke like wildfire. The next morning, Imran arrived at the gym to see a massive banner above the main entrance. It read, "Welcome back, Coach Hurricane." Jamil stood at the door, in a fresh tracksuit, arms folded. For the first time, he was no longer in janitor's clothes. The gym was silent until the coach walked up and shook his hand. The boys clapped, some whistled, a few looked away, ashamed, but Jamil smiled. "We all fall, what matters is how we rise." That evening Imran trained under stadium lights with Jamil standing beside him, shouting instructions like thunder. His final opponent was a boy named Samir, sponsored, rich, and undefeated. Samir had state-of-the-art gear, a private coach, and years of formal experience. Everyone whispered, "Imran's heart is big, but he's no match for Samir's strength." Jamil didn't listen. He only told Imran, "Fight like a story they'll never forget." As the night before the finals came, Imran found himself unable to sleep. He walked to the rooftop, gloves in hand, staring at the stars. He whispered to himself, "This is for you, Abu, and for you, Ami, for all those who laughed, and the one man who stood beside me." Below, the lights of the city flickered, but inside his heart, something stronger glowed: faith. The next morning, the announcer's voice shook the stadium. Imran Khan versus Samir Karasha, final round. The two boys stepped into the ring. One had money, one had muscles. One had muscles, one had meaning. And as the bell rang, Imran looked into Samir's eyes and smiled, because this wasn't just a fight, this was a story. Zoravar's footsteps were heavier than usual as he walked through the dusty hallway of the old training camp. The crowd's chants from the underground arena echoed faintly behind him, but his mind was far from the cheers. His ribs still ached from the last fight, where he'd gone toe-to-toe with a trained champion twice his size and won, but victory hadn't brought peace. It had only pulled him deeper into a world that used him as entertainment. The boy who was once thrown into the ring as a joke had now become the people's legend. But what was left of the boy? As he reached the door of the locker room, he paused. Inside, two voices whispered, one familiar, the other too cold. He pushed the door open slightly and saw Rafiq speaking in low tones with Malik, the arena manager. Zoravar's ears perked up when he heard his name. "He's not just a fighter anymore," Rafiq said. "He's a symbol. The crowd is addicted to him." "That's the problem," Malik replied, his tone laced with threat. "When people start loving someone too much, they stop fearing the system. That boy has to fall." Zoravar's stomach dropped. "Not yet," Rafiq whispered. "Let me get him ready for the finals. Then, you do what you have to do." Zoravar backed away silently. He couldn't breathe. His mentor, the only one who had shown him kindness in this cruel world, had just signed his fate. Was it always a lie? Did Rafiq only train him to feed him to the wolves in the end? He didn't sleep that night. His mind raced, torn between betrayal and survival. He remembered the faces of boys he'd seen beaten bloody in the ring, some never walking again. He remembered Sami, the boy who once gave him a piece of bread and vanished the next day. How many had fallen for the same illusion? How many had Rafiq betrayed? At dawn, he left the camp without a word, his face covered by a scarf. He headed to the outskirts of the city, where he'd heard rumors of a woman named Zara, former fighter turned healer, who had once defied the ring. Some said she was dead, others said she lived in hiding, helping those who wanted to break free. After hours of walking and hiding from guards, he found her. Zara opened the door with caution, a long scar cutting through her left eyebrow. Her eyes scanned him sharply, but softened when he said one sentence. "They threw me in as a joke, and now they want me dead." She let him in. Inside the small, dusty room, filled with herbs and worn-out mats, Zoravar finally spoke his truth. He told her everything: his pain, the betrayals, the fights, and now Rafiq's plan. She listened silently. Then she stood up, walked to a trunk, and pulled out a faded photo of herself standing in the ring with a bloodied fist raised and fire in her eyes. "They tried to kill me too," she said. "But they didn't know we fighters are not just made of fist, made of fire." Zara began to train him, not in brute strength, but in control, focus, and agility. She showed him how to move without wasting energy, how to read his opponent's breath, how to use silence as a weapon. Her methods were different. They were not about applause, they were about freedom. But just as Zoravar began to rebuild himself, an explosion shook the area. A message was carved on the wall of the nearby street, written in red: "Return or the girl dies." His heart stopped. Aliya. He hadn't seen her in weeks, but she was the only one who had stood by him when no one did. He thought she was safe. Clearly he was wrong. Zara grabbed his arm. "This is what they do. They don't break your bones. They break your heart." Zoravar stared at the smoke in the sky. He had come this far to escape, but now, they had dragged someone innocent into their war. And he couldn't run anymore. "I'll go back," he said quietly. "But I'll go back as someone they've never met before." Zara nodded, then handed him a small pendant. It belonged to the boy I couldn't save, she said. Let this remind you, fight for more than just survival. That night, Zorovar shaved his head, tied the pendant around his neck, and wrote one sentence on a piece of paper. They made me a monster. Now I'll show them what monsters truly fear. He handed the note to Zara. Give this to Rafik when they come looking for me. And without another word, he disappeared into the shadows. Back at the arena, Rafik received the note the next morning. His hands trembled as he read the words. Malik stood beside him, a smile creeping up on his face. So, he's coming back? Malik asked. Rafik didn't answer. His silence was fear itself. But neither of them knew what Zorovar had become in the hands of the woman they thought was dead. Neither of them expected what was coming. And miles away, Zorovar stood under a broken streetlight, watching the city lights flicker like dying stars. His eyes held a storm. Because this time, he wasn't walking into the ring to fight. The arena had never been this quiet before, not even during the bloodiest matches. People sat frozen in their seats, eyes wide, breaths caught in their throats. The silence wasn't fear. It was awe, a kind of silence that falls when you witness something that breaks every rule, every expectation, and every story you thought you knew. Zorovar stood in the center of the ring, blood dripping slowly from a cut above his eye, chest rising and falling, every breath echoing through the still air. Across from him, Malik himself was on his knees, gasping, humiliated. The man who controlled the fighters, the one who chose who lived and who broke, had just been defeated by the very boy he once called a joke. It had started with a trap. Zorovar had returned, alone, days before the grand match. He'd walked straight into the lion's den and asked for one thing: a final match, against anyone Malik chose. Malik had laughed, then agreed. He believed Zorovar would break in front of the crowd. He wanted to end the myth, kill the legend, and make a brutal example. But Zorovar had other plans. What no one knew was that Zara had planted allies in the crowd, former fighters, silent rebels, those who had once suffered in the shadows. Zorovar's return had lit something in them, a flame, and that flame was about to become fire. The final match wasn't just a fight. It was a revolution disguised. In punches and pain, Zorovar had fought like a man who wasn't afraid to die anymore. He dodged with purpose, struck with strategy, and moved with the confidence of someone who had found something more powerful than fear: truth. But the real twist had come when Malik tried to cheat. As Zorovar cornered his opponent, Malik stepped into the ring, angry, shouting, trying to stop the match. The crowd booed, sensing something dirty. Zorovar paused. Then he did the unthinkable. He dropped his guard, let the enemy hit him, and still didn't fall. The crowd gasped. Malik struck him again. Still, Zorovar didn't fall. He looked into Malik's eyes and whispered, "You can break my body, but not my name." Then, with one perfect movement, Zorovar swept Malik's legs from beneath him and brought him to the ground. Not with anger, but with finality. Now, as Malik lay panting, Zorovar turned to the crowd. His voice was tired but clear. "You made me a legend," he said, "but you never asked me if I wanted to be one." People listened. I was thrown in, here to die, but I lived. You watched me suffer, and you called it entertainment. You cheered for blood, not courage. You paid for pain, not truth. And I played along because I thought I had no choice. The silence deepened, but I've learned something. I have a choice now, and today, I choose to end this. Gasps rose from the crowd. No one had ever spoken like this in the ring before. No one had dared. I am not your animal. I am not your joke. I am not your legend. I am Zorovar. I am human, and I will not fight for your pleasure anymore. From the stands, a single voice shouted, "He's right." Then another, "Let him speak," and another, "No more blood." In seconds, the arena turned into a storm of voices, rising together. The system that had stood tall for decades began to shake. Guards looked around, confused. Malik reached for his earpiece, too late. The gates burst open. Zara entered, followed by dozens of fighters, men and women once broken, now standing with eyes full of fire. They didn't come to fight. They came to finish what had begun years ago. A reckoning. The crowd parted as Zara walked up to Zorovar and nodded. She whispered, "You did it." "No," he whispered back. "We did." Suddenly, Rafik appeared at the far end of the ring, bruised, bloody, but not broken. He limped forward. The crowd grew quiet again. "I lied to you," he said. "I trained you for them. I thought you'd be just another tool. But you became something else. You became free, and now I want to fight for that too." Zorovar looked at him for a long second. Then he nodded. Malik was dragged out by the fighters. His screams were drowned in the cheers of a crowd that had finally woken up. A crowd that had realized what they were really watching all these years wasn't strength, it was suffering. The arena didn't shut down that day, it changed. The ring, once stained with blood, became a circle of stories of strength, of real competition without cruelty. Fighters were respected, protected, given choice. Zorovar refused to fight again, but he became the one who trained the next generation not to win but to stand tall. Aliyah returned to. She had survived Malik's threats and came back stronger. She worked with Zara to provide shelter for the young kids who used to be lured into the ring with promises. Together, they built a new home far from the noise, close to peace. One day, a small boy walked up to Zoravar during a quiet evening near the old training camp. "They say you were just a joke once," the boy said. Zoravar smiled gently. "I was." The boy looked up with wide eyes. "But you became a legend." Zoravar looked at the stars above, then back at the boy. "No," he said. "I became myself." The boy paused, then asked, "Can you teach me?" Zoravar bent down, placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, and said, "Only if you promise me one thing. Never fight to prove you're strong. Fight to prove you're free." The boy nodded. And somewhere deep in the ruins of the past, in the heart of a ring once used for pain, a new story began, one not of blood, but of courage. Because legends don't rise from strength alone. They rise when someone chooses to stand up, even when the whole world wants them down.